How do you create a political campaign strategy? Well, what may seem very complicated is easy if you break it down into a step-by-step process. That's what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to tell you how it's done, and it applies to any candidate regardless of the office you're running for. What we're going to talk about in this video specifically are the three things that kind of dictate pieces of your strategy, the 5 components of your campaign message, how you execute your message, and how you raise the money to pay for the advertising. There are 3 things that dictate your political strategy in one way or another, and they are this: the political environment, your resources, and your competition. A word about the political environment. You must be cognizant of what the political environment is like at the time you are running. If you're running for office in a year when the public is consumed about the state of the economy and your message has nothing to do with how to make the economy work better for some, your entire campaign is going to be irrelevant to what's on the minds of the voters. So currently we're in a year when concerns are fragmented and all over the place. But in some years, there is an issue that so dominates the agenda that everybody has to address it. The second thing is, you got to be cognizant of the resources that you have when coming up with a campaign strategy. You can't run a $3 million campaign on a $1 million budget. And if you're going to be outspent, that dictates that you come up with a different kind of strategy than your opponent because you can't match them on that score. The third thing I want to mention here is your competition. Ultimately, voters are going to go into the booth and they're going to see your name and maybe one other name or 3 or 4 other names. At the end of the day, they're going to pick one of those candidates and you want them to be you. Now, if they have a unique selling proposition that they're advertising and you try and run with the same compelling message that they have, what's going to happen is the candidate who has the most money is going to win because you're going to get outshouted. So part of the art of this is deciding what your unique selling proposition is in a multi-candidate field, or what makes you better if you're in a one-on-one contest. The second thing I'm going to talk about are the components of your campaign message, which is part of your strategy. There are 5 questions that voters have for you. And they're not the questions you typically hear from voters, but I know, having done this for 40 years, this is what voters want to know. Number 1 is what makes you qualified for the job you're running for. And they will expect you to tell them a little bit about the things that you think make you qualified to do the job. Second thing they want to know is your moral code roughly in sync with theirs? What is a moral code? It's the stuff you care about. It's your notions of right and wrong. It's your notions of good and evil. It's what you can't stand. It's what you love. It's what you consider kindness and goodness and what you think is out of bounds. Everybody has a moral code, and so do you. Voters will expect you to share some of what yours is with them. Do you care about veterans? Do you care about little kids? Do you care about schools? Do you care about the elderly? Do you care about those who've been left behind and need a hand up? Do you care about what people pay in taxes? Anything roughly fits into your moral code. But you have to share some of that with voters, or else one of your opponents will come along and they're going to define your moral code in a way that you don't like it being described. Third consideration is, what kind of voters are you trying to reach? And generally in any campaign, the first question to ask is, how many total votes are likely to be cast in this election year? Because the total number of votes that you need affects the cost and the reach of your advertising. But this is a common mistake for first-timers running for office. They say, I'm going to talk to every voter. We're going to send a piece of mail and we're going to try and reach all voters. Big mistake. You're not going to get every voter. And if you try to be all things to all people, you won't be anything to anybody. body. Get used to it. We are in a partisan environment, and politics is civilized warfare. It is about contrasting yourself with other people. So in terms of looking at your voting universe, sometimes the easiest thing for candidates to do is take a look at the demographics of the voter rolls and decide there is no way in hell these kinds of people are going to vote for me given what I stand for. Just take them off your list. Don't let them even know that you're there. Just ignore them because you're not going to get them. And then there are pieces of your voting universe where, because of your issue positions or your party affiliation or demographic profile, that you can expect the votes of people who normally support candidates like you. And then the third section you need to concentrate on is who are those voters in the middle who could go either way in this election. You kind of got to divide these into three different sections. Usually those who are going to vote for you, if they vote, it's an effort to get the vote out among those people. And those who are persuadable, that need to be persuaded, the message that you send them in requires some extra money and highlighting your arguments to persuade them to support you and not the person of the opposing party. Oh, and by the way, if you got questions or comments about anything I've said, be sure to leave them in the comment section. I try to answer every question I get, and sometimes they're great ideas for future videos. The fourth matter to cover is once you have constructed your campaign strategy and you've decided what voters you need to reach and what you are going to tell them, is how you disseminate your message. There are lots of ways to do that. If you're running in a local race where you can meet almost every voter, well, you can do this with volunteers. Give them a palm card or a handout. Ask them to go knock on doors of people. Go yourself and talk to voters. If you live in a larger jurisdiction where there are more than 3,000 or 4,000 voters, you are going to need to think about some form of political advertising to disseminate your message. Well, certainly yard signs can be part of that. People do notice them. Maybe you have people who are supporters in your neighborhood who are willing to put up a yard sign. But beyond that, we have social media now, and it's a great advertising tool. Don't be afraid of it. In fact, Facebook is one of the best and least expensive forms of political advertising known in the American democracy. Lots of candidates use it. It is highly effective, and the advantage is you can target your Facebook ads to specific people that you want to see them, including your voters that you need to vote and those that you're trying to persuade. Beyond that, yes, you do your social media on Instagram and TikTok. You use YouTube. Videos are a great form and a great communication tool. When you get above this, things start to get expensive. Certainly there is direct mail, which is great for areas that are inside large media markets. A lot of candidates running in a statewide election or a congressional election must also turn to television. Now, YouTube is in its infancy as a way to disseminate political video advertising to people. The trouble with YouTube is you can only target by zip code or geographic area. So you're going to be reaching some people you don't want to, but it's still an inexpensive thing. Beyond that, now we go to the magic of TV. There is OTTV. There is CTV. There is cable TV. And if you're running in a place like New York City for mayor, you, of course, will end up using commercial television. All of these methods and how to use them is the subject for a different video. But once you have your message, your mission is simply figuring out, of all these voters I'm going to reach, what's the cheapest, most effective, most efficient way to get a message to them. A word about your resources, and I'll just mention this in passing. You can have a brilliant strategy, and you can have a brilliant advertising program, you can have brilliant everything, and if you don't have the money to pay for it, it's all for naught, because poof. This is a truth about a political campaign. If you do not have a budget, you do not have a strategy. If you do not have a fundraising plan, you will run out of money unless you intend to pay for the whole thing out of your pocket. That is a subject for a different video, but it is on the to-do list of how to create a political campaign strategy. I do have a special video that you might want to consider watching in the link below. It's called 5 Ways to Create That Perfect Campaign Message. Also have a free workbook if you'd like it in the link below, How to Craft a Political Campaign Message.